All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, April 20th, and we have the first round of the NBA playoffs. We're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment. That's where all of my final plays will be, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to go ahead and fade me, keep an eye on the pinned comment. In terms of last night, not a great night. We go 2-3, half unit win on the Heat money line. A lot of people are crapping on me in the comments for that one. That one cashes, but we get it. We give it right back with the half unit on the Kings money line there. And then the only other play that we were right about was DeMar under 26.5 points as the over comes up just shy. And then Tyler Hero definitely put in some damn work last night as well. So not terrible, guys. Not as good as 2 nights ago when we went 4-1. So you know what? It is what it is. The vibes get a little bit better when we look at the ride of the day there, though. We had Ayo DeSumo coming in from Classic, over 1.5 3-pointers made. Cha-ching. Cash it from the soundboard there. DeSumo finishes with 2 3-pointers made. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you have to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your pick until you lose. So shout out to Classic. We're riding with him again today. It took DeSumo 11 threes. I didn't think we'd get that much volume, but 11 threes to cash this bad boy. So shout out to him. But yeah, guys, use that hashtag ride of the day just in case either Classic doesn't get his in on time, which he has been doing, so I trust that, or you want to show that you're kind of heating up. So when your time is called, and if your time is called and the spotlight's on you, you are ready to go. Use that hashtag ride of the day. Before we do go get into the games, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. 2 amazing deals going on right now. First off, use the link in the pinned comment. You get your first deposit matched. You can literally put in $500 if you want to go big baller mode, and they'll give you a free $500 new account balance of $1,000 for the playoffs, which is absolutely mind-blowing. You want to go a little bit more, manageable and normal, you can throw in $100, they'll match it. $50, they'll match it. Whatever you put into Sleeper, they will give you literally dollar for dollar a match, which is absolutely awesome. And today, you can get a free Jalen Brunson square as a new user, and all users are getting this LeBron James free square as well. Go check it out, guys. You guys know that I love Sleeper. It's time, if you're missing out on it and it's illegal in your state and you're not on it, you're literally, it's time to go check it out. Playoff basketball. I don't know if there's a better time to check it out. Trust me, go check out Sleeper. That link is in the pinned comment. The link will auto apply that deposit match and get you these deals. Go check it out. Again, link in the pinned comment. I've said it a million times, but it's probably worth saying a million more. I love Sleeper. Go check it out. Link in the pinned comment. But guys, hit that subscribe button while you're down there. Like this video as well. Let's get rocking and rolling here. We're looking at game number 1. Number 4 seed Cleveland Cavs taking on the number 5 seed Magic. Cleveland finished the regular season at 48-34. Magic right behind them, 47-35. So really only a game separating these two. Right now, Cleveland's sitting at 5-point favorites. The total sitting at 207. We'll start with the total because it's probably, I guess you could say, something that would be my least favorite play, but I could see why this total is so damn low. It makes a lot of sense to me. You have 2 really good defensive teams. In terms of where they finished on the year, you have the second best, defensive team efficiency-wise in Orlando, and the 6th best when it comes to Cleveland. So you have 2 top 6 defensive efficient teams. For opponents' points per game, you have the 4th best in Orlando and the 7th best in Cleveland. So I entirely understand what we're getting at here. But I will say Cleveland as the favorites and Cleveland at home here is where I look at this number and I say, I think I'm looking up a little bit. Now, both these teams, I'll give you credit, should be sort of like, let's lock up in the playoffs. Like that should fit their mold so well because both teams should rely on defense, right? But the Cleveland defense, wasn't exactly that stellar to close out the season. It was still decent. Orlando's kind of stayed, consistent all the way through, but we saw some games for Cleveland that were like, whoa, 120 allowed to Charlotte, 120 allowed to Indiana, 120 allowed to the Clippers. Before that, they had 130 to Denver. Like, they had some damn high-scoring games, right? And I do think that they pushed the pace a little bit more at home. In fact, on the season, they've hit the over in 59% of games when at home. So for game number 1 here, before we fully settle into the playoffs, I think I look at Cleveland, Orlando, over 207.5 here. So yes, like I said, it's probably my least favorite play. We'll see if it becomes a final play. Just keep an eye on the pinned comment. But based on what I think this Cleveland team can do in transition, which they have a very good transition offense, I could easily see this being a spot in which they say, okay, you know what? The way to beat Orlando is probably to push the tempo, because they have guys like Garland, Mitchell, and those Mobley too, guys that can push the pace to some degree. Whereas you're going to be looking at the Orlando side of things and looking at guys like, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr., which will strive in the half court if you let them. So yeah. Thrive in the half court, excuse me. So I like the over. That's my first play. In terms of a spread pick here, I'm going to lean towards Cleveland. I feel like it might be a chalky play. I do see a path to Orlando, but overall, it's like Cleveland's definitely the better offensive team in my mind. Like, no question about it in my mind. They should win, the points in the paint battle. If they want to, they definitely should win the perimeter battle, whether it's scoring or even defending the perimeter for sure. So I look at that and I'm like, okay. And that's just because Orlando's perimeter defense kind of took a hit for the worst towards the last 10 games of the year. They actually were trending way better around the perimeter than Cleveland, but I don't know if I want to see that first before we trust it. But what I'll say is, if you have both teams, looking like defensive teams, and you have Cleveland in here that, they are a good offensive team when they're cooking, I don't necessarily see, I guess where that would come into play. And especially when you look at this from a Cleveland offensive perspective, right? Field goal percentage, 12th in the league this season, bottom 10 for Orlando, right? In terms of where they ended up ranking, or bottom half of the league, something like that. In terms of 3-point percentage, Cleveland ranked 15th, right? Orlando, literally towards the bottom 5. In terms of 2-point percentage, this is a Cleveland team that ranked fairly high as well. Orlando started to slip off. So to me, offense could be the difference maker here, because I think both teams play good defense. So give me Cleveland here, minus the 5 points. I just think they have the playmakers and probably, honestly, the experience here to get the job done. I've also seen a couple 4.5s out there, so definitely something I would consider. Now, if we jump into a couple player props here, one that I'm really liking, and this definitely has a chance of being a final play, is going to be taking a peek at Darius Garland. So I started at his assists, okay? And I was like, oh, how can I make his assists work? It looks like a good spot. It's plus money, plus 110. He's hit it in 3 of his last 5 at 6.5, right? 3 of his last 5 against the Magic. He had 10 assists back in mid-February. That was the last time he played them. But as I started to look into it, this Magic team, and one thing that could really hurt them, and it kind of goes back to both the over as well as my spread pick, not a very good pick-and-roll ball handler defending team. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell absolutely love being the pick-and-roll ball handler, right? Whether it's with Mobley, whether it's with Allen, anything like that. So as I started looking at this, so I started on Darius Garland's assists, and honestly quickly transitioned into being a look at his points plus assists, because Garland shoots, like I said, scores so much. 34% of his points come from being a pick and roll ball handler, and Orlando allows plenty of points to pick and roll ball handlers. But how do you also, get stats out of a pick and roll being a ball handler? A couple easy dimes to the big man that you're doing it with, in terms of, getting assists. So that's how we kind of pivoted. And honestly, points plus assist is more greened out for him against Orlando. 5 straight games against Orlando, he's hit that over 23.5, averaging 30.8 points plus assists. So yeah, Darius Garland, points plus assists, maybe my favorite play in this spot. The over I'm kind of hesitant on, and then the spread I like for game 1, but this is going to be a hard-fought series. Make no mistake about that. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game here. All right, next up, we have Minnesota taking on Phoenix here. Minnesota being the number 3 seed, only the Thunder and Nuggets ahead of them, and the Suns squeaking in there as the number 6 seed here. This is going to be a good series as well. I know a lot of people think Minnesota is a lot better than the Suns, but if you look at how these two teams matched up this season, it wasn't that close. 3-0 for the Suns in terms of matchups. 3-0 against the spread. 2 overs and an under. But again, like, the point differential was crazy. And honestly, the teams are so different. But you can go back to the last 10. Phoenix has won 9 of the last 10 and covered in 9 of the last 10 as well. So just throwing that out there that, a lot of people are high on Minnesota. And I agree they're a good team. But I can't look anywhere else but Phoenix in this spot, and I'll tell you the reason why. And honestly, One, I mean, yes, I'm factoring in the fact that they went 3-0, but guys in and out, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to put too much weight into regular season when we have the playoffs where defense, you know, starts to amplify and everything like that, right? But two major reasons why I like this. The biggest one is that Minnesota's defense is just killer in the paint and stopping guys at the rim. So when I say in the paint, I mean kind of like foul line into the restricted area and then at the rim, restricted area, and towards the hoop, right? That isn't Phoenix's go-to. Like, they're going to look for the mid-range. They're certainly going to look for the above-the-break three. So I look at that, and I'm like, well, to be completely honest, if that's the case, and that's where Minnesota has their edge, no kidding, Phoenix has won 3 straight against Minnesota, right? And 9 of their last 10, if you want to, you know, kind of make it a bigger sample size. But again, a lot of the players weren't there in those years, so I'm sticking to this season in particular. But you got to see what I'm saying. Like, this is a spot in which Minnesota's like, yeah, we'll kill you at the rim. Like, you're Durant, Booker, none of you guys are getting to the rim on us, okay? But we can't really cover you on the outside. Booker, Beal, Allen, Durant, all these guys can shoot from the outside. Is it a shocker as to why they've had offensive success against Minnesota? Minnesota, defensively this season, right? In terms of their defense, they allowed, just had it up, let's see. They allowed 106.5 to opponents, okay? So you're like, that's a damn good rate, right? In the games against Phoenix, Phoenix went out there and scored 107, 133, 97, and 125. So, or this season, 133, 125, and 97. Excuse me, that 107 was the year before. So you look at that, it's like 2 of those 3 games they played, Phoenix kind of went off. And, you know, I can't see it being any different here. Now, the one argument I could see being made is that, well, Minnesota's defense is just going to absolutely shore up in the playoffs, and they get Karl-Anthony Towns back. Like, I give a little bit of credit there. And honestly, I sound super passionate about Phoenix, but to be honest, like, I could see how Minnesota wins this game. They were the 3 seed all year long. I just wonder if all of a sudden Phoenix is finally getting healthier and starting to mesh at the right time, right? Closing the year out, winning 7 of their last 10. Minnesota closed the year out well as well. But not entirely, you know, as successful. And the last game of the year was what we looked at from both of these teams, and we had 36 from Beal, 23 from Booker, 20 from was it Grayson Allen? You know, we had a lot of guys score out there. Karl-Anthony Towns only played, I think it was like 29 minutes, only had 10 points. Anthony Edwards played 35 minutes, only had 13. Gobert was the leading scorer for Minnesota. I just don't think these teams match up as you know, beneficial as some might think for this Minnesota team. So long rant there, but give me Phoenix here plus the points, and honestly, probably considering them on the money line, right? Why wouldn't you? Now, in terms of a total 214, I'm not going to be playing this, but I would lean towards the under. And I say I'm not going to play it just due to the fact that I have, you know, I guess I would say the feeling that that's how Minnesota kind of stamps their presence on this game, which would be by making it hard for Phoenix to score. Even though I just said, you know, look at what they've done against them, blah, blah, blah. I totally understand that. But my larger point here is that, well, at the end of the day, Phoenix can have really good, efficient offense and everything like that. But if Minnesota slows this game down and takes their time with it, like, we could see a game that finishes, you know, 107 to 104, something like that. And it's still below that 214.5. So it's a little bit too low for me to bet with confidence. But if I did have a gun in my head here, I would lean towards the under overall. And then from a player prop perspective, I like the one I have here. I'm going to be taking a peek at Grayson Allen over 5.5 rebounds plus assists. I don't necessarily mind his PRA. He's hit that in 3 straight games against Minnesota this year. It's just because it's the playoffs that I might pull off of his points, right? But I do like, I mean, I've done crazier. Maybe the updated pin comment will have his PRA, but I like his rebounds and assists because I think he's, with everything I said about that perimeter basketball being played for the Phoenix Suns, I do think that he's going to have a lot of potential assists that just lead to catch and shoot shots. And the dude in his 3 games against Minnesota averaged 9 rebound chances per game this year and closed out the season averaging 10 rebound chances and 5 potential assists. So that should literally result in 7.5 and beyond rebounds plus assists. And he hit this line in 9 of his last 10 games. So I like the spot for him here as long as he gets the run and he gets the minutes, which he should for sure. All right, before we move on, I also want to shout out Prize Picks. I talked to you about Sleeper. Well, Prize Picks is doing their damn best to keep up, too, with these discounted squares. Jokic, 0.5 points. Jokic is pretty good, right? I think he's pretty good. I think he scores 1 point in his matchup against the Lakers today. Go ahead and check it out, guys. That link will also be in the pinned comment. It auto-applies, both you getting the deal for this, if obviously his prize picks available in your state, and you'll get that deposit match up to $100 as well. These apps are so cool. They make betting on player props super, super easy, and you've probably heard a lot about prize picks. If you haven't tried it out yet, let me tell you, you will not be disappointed. It's super easy, super simple, and just makes, honestly, player prop action really fun and simple to do. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that link is going to be in the pinned comment right below the sleeper rank. So go check out both of those. I can't recommend either of these apps enough to people. I swear to God, I mean it. I don't push things just to, cash a bag. These are literally the two apps that I use the most when it comes to player props. But go check out PrizePicks, link in the pinned comment. Or if you just download the PrizePicks app, you can use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON, spelling bee champ, and that'll get the same deal. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Let's jump back into the second half of the slate here. All right, Knicks taking on the Sixers here. Sixers were a play-in seed. Knicks, the number 2 seed. Like, can we just take a second and give Jalen Brunson all the credit he deserves in the world? Like, I know a lot of those guys stepped up too. DiVincenzo, OG comes back. Same thing with Robinson. He comes back, helps him out. Hartenstein, fills in that center role and does a damn good job. I get that other guys stepped up. But Julius Randle goes down, and then we figure out it's for the year. But when he went down, it's like, oh, what are they going to do, right? And Jalen Brunson's like, I'm going to go. What's beyond superstar, right? Like mega mode. And he did just that. In fact, shout out to Jalen Brunson. When I was at the Celtics-Knicks game, a week ago or so, I dapped him up because we had the floor seats, and I went to the bathroom, and his tunnel kind of intersected here. He definitely did not want a single part of that, but I made it happen. So I can say that. It was his right hand, though, not his shooting hand. But nonetheless, I do think that, it's just like somehow he's still going to be consistently underrated, even though he's playing at an all-time level. Like, this isn't a fluke. He was really good before being on the Knicks. Then he got to the Knicks, was really good, and now he's just like at another level right now. Maybe he doesn't sustain this 40 point, a million points, but damn, dude, that dude is just a beast. That being said, do we like the Knicks or do we like the Sixers in this spot? I'm going to lean towards the Knicks just because of the basketball that they've been playing. And, you look at the Sixers team, and they did kind of have to go through some battling just to win that game against Miami. They started the game slow, and then the Sixers come back. What are they losing, like 51-39 at halftime, something like that? God knows how he hit the over in that one. But overall, like, I don't think that, if Philadelphia starts slow here, I don't think the Knicks, have this sort of like, we'll pull off of you type of thing going on here. Like, they'll just absolutely step on you, and Thibodeau's going to be like, let's beat him by 1,000,000. So if that happens, man, I like this play. If it doesn't, I still like the Knicks to be able to get the stops when they need to down the stretch. I know Philadelphia is a good defensive team and everything like that, but, I do think that the Knicks just probably have a little bit more momentum riding right now. In terms of how they closed out the year, this Knicks team won 5 straight games. The competition wasn't all that great. I totally understand that. The Sixers won 9 straight. So, like, I'm not sitting here saying that, the last few games of the year is what I mean by momentum. I mean that sort of like, why not us mentality, or being the number 2 seed but still having a chip on your shoulder type of momentum that I believe the Knicks have. So I like that spot. I do think these teams match up really, really well here. So Philadelphia, last 10 games of the year, really good at shooting from around the perimeter. Knicks, above the break threes, very good team preventing that. The Knicks, really good team at shooting above the break threes. Philly, very good at doing that. Both teams struggle in the restricted area, but, in the paint is where I think Philadelphia could have somewhat of an edge. So it'll tie into one of my player props later on, but that's the only knock I have here for the Knicks, that if Philadelphia gets into the paint for, sort of those, 7-foot type floaters or Embiid little pull-ups in the paint, not yet in the restricted area, we could have some trouble. But overall, this is a Knicks defense that I think in a big moment like this, I would trust. Second fewest opponent points per game allowed this season, 7th best in terms of efficiency. At home, they played good defense as well. So give me the Knicks minus the 3 points. And let's not forget that, like I said already, Philadelphia had to grind just to get into this spot, right? Like that was a good win, good for them, but they've kind of had like this weird up and down type season where Embiid's injured, they sink down, now Embiid's back. Are they really like, you know, an 8 seed? Maybe they should be a little bit higher. It's not proven yet though. So give me the Knicks here. In terms of the total, listen, I want to lean towards the under because of, you know, just given the fact that this is playoff basketball, we saw how slow the Sixers can play. These teams this season, when they've played 4 straight unders, but there's no denying how both of these teams kind of closed out the year. So including that Miami game for the Sixers, 7 of their last 10 have gone over. And then the Knicks became, like, out of nowhere, the #1 like over team. They hit 90% of their overs in the last 10 of the year. And the only one they missed by 1 bucket. So it could have easily been a 10-0 over. So do I see an angle being made for the under? Totally. But to me, it's like this is the type of game where somebody is going to go off. Brunson, Embiid, Maxey. Might hope it's Maxey. We'll talk about player props in a second. DiVincenzo could have a good game, right? So it's like when that type of thing, in my opinion, is bound to happen, you know, there could be a chance for an over to hit. So I'll lean towards the over. And then rolling right into player props, like I mentioned, I like Tyrese Maxey today, over 27.5 points plus assists. I honestly don't like, to be honest, either one of those lines alone. I may consider his points line more than his assists, but in terms of points plus assists here, he's cashed that in 4 of his last 6 against the Knicks here. The one that he didn't, he only shot 14 times. He's actually been averaging in those 6 games 18.5 attempts, so that's kind of an outlier there. And reason being, I already talked about how the Knicks' one defensive gap, or, you know, you can make the argument one defensive gap, is sort of that right inside the foul line. Tyrese Maxey is going to get there all day long. He loves the floater. We've seen it before. And this is a Knicks team that, like I say, they're really good defensively, but for a pick and roll ball handler, which 30% of Maxey's points come from being a pick and roll ball handler, much like when we talked about, you know, looking at Darius Garland, like this is a spot in which he's going to be able to score off the pick and roll, whether it's a floater or dumping it to Embiid, who it doesn't really matter who's covering him, right? Embiid could make a basket very easily. So similar to why we're looking at the pick for Garland actually in the Cleveland game, targeting that one defensive lapse and saying, okay, let's go and run that one. So yeah, I like Maxey in this spot, over 27.5 points plus assists. If you don't have points plus assists, I'd go points. But honestly, I might even say like I'd pass if you don't have the combo. All right, guys, before we get into what could be the game of the night, let's go ahead and drop 22 in the comments. Give me a 2. You made it this far into the video. I can't thank people enough that do make it this far into the video and do comment and everything like that, because, you know, if you've been rocking with me for a long time, certainly, but even this season, you've seen how much we've grown, right? And I feel like I'm the only person that makes videos that doesn't take credit for that. Like, I understand that it takes the eyeballs to result in that. All I can do is be consistent, work my ass off, you know, reinvest in better quality and stuff like that. But, you know, I understand the engagement and the support that, you know, you guys have and the role you have in growing this. So I appreciate the hell every time I see a 22. What I appreciate more, and that's because I'm a cynical little bastard here, is when someone's like, why is everyone commenting 22? It makes my day. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I love it. And then I love when they catch themselves, they reply to their own comment, oh, just made it to the end of the video, duh. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. But comment 22 if you made it this far into the video. We're talking Nuggets taking on the Lakers. This is certainly going to be a good one, at least game number 1. And obviously, I don't want to say there's bad blood in this game, right? But Denver has dominated the Lakers, dating even back to the playoffs last year. They've won 8 straight against them. And you know LeBron just wants to beat Jokic, right? So I expect them to go kind of balls to the wall here. We do have LeBron and Anthony Davis on the injury report. Like, at what point can we be like, it's the playoffs, dude? Like, guys, cut it out. You know what I mean? Like, you should, if you're on the injury report, like, you just can't play in the playoffs. Or if you've been on the injury report for 90% of the season, like, this is the playoffs. Stop bullshitting. Just get on the court. Say you're available. It's so annoying. But at least we know LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to play. You know what I mean? In terms of where we stand from a spread perspective, this is a big number. It is. And I don't know if Denver comes out of the gates, you know, hot, but I think that they get the job done here. I'd really love to say that I'm confident in Denver because, Lakers kind of similar to how we talked about Knicks, Sixers. The Lakers had to grind and come back and win and maybe even get lucky that Zion got injured to be able to win that game against New Orleans in the play-in. And now Denver's been sitting here like, yeah, when are we playing? Let's go. We're at home. We've dominated you in the past. Come to Papa, right? So I do think Denver gets the job done, but I think the Lakers are going to come out fired up, man. Like, I think the Lakers could keep this game close, which would be the thing that keeps me from making this a final play. So if you're on the Lakers, just know that I can kind of see that angle. If you want to talk numbers and everything here, like other than, I guess you could say, points per game throughout the year, there's not really a stat that I think Denver is worse than the Lakers in. Defensive and offensive efficiency, they'll get them in. They are a better defense for sure. Points in the paint, Denver should win that one. Points in the paint allowed, probably should win that one as well. The rebounding battle, they should definitely win. The three-point battle could be a little interesting, but it gets, tilted towards Denver because Denver's covers the perimeter a lot better, right? So I think that any way you kind of want to carve this, Denver's the better team. But 7 points is 7 points. So if you're like, hey, screw it, like LeBron, Anthony Davis with a little bit of vengeance in mind, I could see you liking the Lakers here. I just want to trust the data and trust the numbers and who I really do think is the better team. So give me Denver in this spot. But again, that thought about the Lakers could keep me off it. But what we know is that the books are always going to kind of give the Lakers a couple additional points and that type of thing too. So it's kind of like paying the Lakers tax. So even with that being said, maybe even Denver should be favored by a little bit more. In terms of a total here, 2 ways to cut it up. I think if you're on Denver like I am, you like the under. Denver should slow this game down. But if you do like the Lakers, I don't see how you could pull the trigger on the under. The way the Lakers will win this game, and mark my words, if they do, well, I'll be able to tell you about it in the next show. Like, mark my words, what? Like, I'll just talk about it. They'll score a lot of points. Like, that's the way to beat Denver, right? I already said they're not going to out-efficiency them. They're not going to out-defend them. But what they could do is totally kick it up and body them in transition. So that could be a spot in which, we look at and say, okay, well, overall, like, we have a chance here. Let's up the tempo. I could see something like that happening. So yeah, I don't necessarily mind the thought of Denver here saying, okay, the Lakers here saying, hey, let's up the tempo, or at least trying to up the tempo too. But like I said, if you're on Denver, they know that the Lakers want to do that. They're going to say, hey, let's take 20 seconds out of this shot clock every time, baby. And obviously the Denver Nuggets, one of the slower teams in the league, still averaged plenty of points, but they were only 14th in points per game this year, while being the 5th most efficient scoring team. So they take their damn time. We know that. In terms of a player prop here, I want to cut Jamal Murray up. That sounds weird. I want to play Jamal Murray in multiple ways tonight. I think I really do like his over and 3-pointers made. 2.5 right now. You're paying a lot of juice, but you can get it for minus 135 on DraftKings. Everywhere else, FanDuel, minus 165. BetMGM, minus 165. Caesars, minus 174. So if you're going to take this or play this, DraftKings may be the only option. He's hit it in 7 of 11 against the Lakers, and the Lakers should allow a bunch of above-the-break threes, which is where Jamal Murray's going to do some damage here. And what I like about Murray is that 12% of his points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is a decent amount, come from in transition, which if the Lakers try and kick this up into gear, Jamal Murray will be the guy that gets that sort of job done in a sense. Like Jokic, half of that, 6% of his points come from transition. So like if it's going to be a transition type game, I think this is going to be a good spot for him. If the transition does kick up, I also don't mind taking a peek at Michael Porter Jr.'s points. We'll get back to Jamal Murray in a second. Michael Porter Jr.'s points as well as Aaron Gordon's points, depending on what we get for lines over there. But back to Jamal Murray, my actual favorite spot. Over 2.5 3-pointers made. And then I like his PRA as well. He's hit that in 6 of his last 8 games here against the Lakers. This season, he didn't hit it in the first game against them, and then he went 47 and 41. He had double-digit assists in both of those, and on the year to close out the season, he's been hovering right around this line, right? But, 11 potential assists, almost 8 rebound chances. I like this spot for Jamal Murray to be able to contribute. And then on the season, points, 6th most points allowed to point guards for the Lakers, 7th most rebounds allowed, and the 10th most assists allowed to opposing point guards. Could be a good spot for Jamal Murray there. And guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, keep an eye on the pinned comment. We might add some plays, like I even just mentioned, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. If we think this game starts to, throughout the day looking into it, has a chance of going towards transition, like that takes away from Jokic's specialties, right? Maybe he gets more assists, but starts to lean into guys like Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and blah, blah, blah. So obviously we'll continue to look through. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for all the final plays. And yeah, playoffs have officially begun. Let's go ahead and crush. Let's go. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.